Let's talk a little bit about leadership. That's what we do, and we know you're a phenomenal leader. You believe deeply in it. Let's talk about how now as the governor, how your stewardship of leadership now, of this leadership mantle you've been given, how does that change and adapt now that you're in this position?
I'll cite this big difference between running a business, which is a lot harder than being in the Senate or being a governor.
Yeah.
And that's because in this job, it's applying for it. 2 hard deadlines in May and November, and you're out of business. It took me 17 years to get out of it and scale a business.
We're excited, but today we are meeting with who we consider the top influencer in the state of Indiana.
Governor Mike Braun takes the oath of reporting live from the State House.
From private sector innovator to the 52nd governor.
Governor Mike Braun didn't just study business, he built
And a man who is the visionary about things to do in the state that will impact our countries. Governor Mike Braun.
We were in one location. It was very hard scrabble. Now 3 of my 4 kids run the business that I led, and it's got 90 locations in 40 states and several in Canada. If you want to lead, it's not a solo job because if you're doing anything of scale,
Kind of your thoughts a little bit. Your host, Greg Steely. You already did that. Welcome to Leadership Unscripted.
That's one of the better ones I've heard. That's really good.
Welcome to Leadership Unscripted. Man, I am super excited to bring to you a very, very special guest. Anytime we get to meet with the top influencers anywhere in the world, we're excited. But today we are meeting with who we consider the top influencer in the state of Indiana, and a man who is a visionary about things to do in the state that will impact our country. So today we welcome to the podcast Governor Mike Braun. Governor, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being with us today.
my pleasure to do it.
And we are so happy. And congratulations on becoming governor. And I know the state is excited to have you here. I know we're excited to have you on the podcast. We were talking to Governor Huckabee Sanders. We had done a podcast with her, and we had talked about how we were trying to get to Indiana, get to know you. We were doing some stuff, and she was like, "You're going to love Mike." So we're excited, and thank you. So I want to dive right into it if we can, because I want to be respectful of your time.
Sure.
So let's talk a little bit about leadership. That's what we do, and we know you're a phenomenal leader. You believe deeply in it. We just had a conversation about John and Hillham, and that's where you live, which is amazing.
Near Hillham.
Hillham. Yeah, let's talk about how now as the governor, how your stewardship of leadership now, of this leadership mantle you've been given, how does that change and adapt now that you're in this position?
So in this position, you've got a lot of things you can do, but if you're going to be effective at it, you probably needed to get those skills a long time ago. And I get that question asked often because I wanted to be a surgeon when I went to college, till I found out it was going to take 9 years of further education and had to shift gears. Then going to become a lawyer. So I switched from biology to political science. And by the time I got through college, I was into 3 majors. It was an econ degree with a minor in political science.
Wow.
And didn't go to med or law school, went to business school.
Wow.
And you think, well, making a lot of changes there, to me, it goes back to leadership. Because when I was a kid, mostly probably driven by my mother to just get involved.
Yeah.
Not forcefully, but she said, hey, it's always better to take a shot at it, see if you like it, get involved. And I really followed that through becoming a scout, getting the Eagle Scout Award, which was the first time I really had to take a step up with Tenderfoot, second class, first class, Star, Life, and then Eagle.
Wow.
21 merit badges. And doing all that kind of stuff will prepare you. I was involved in student government. I only lost 1 election so far.
Okay.
I was running for class president as a junior against the 2-year incumbent and didn't give it up, but did it again as a senior and won.
Right.
But again, you're sticking your neck out, and whether it's something simple like that or where you get into the real world. And when I was headed to Wall Street after getting an econ degree and then going to business school, took the first entrepreneurs course back in 78. I said, I don't think that makes sense. You're leading in terms of where you're going with your own life. And all I can tell you is when I made the call to my dad that got a change of plans, he was so proud. And he said, well, what's plan B? Well, we're moving back home.
Yeah.
It was not into the basement, but again, it was probably the smartest decision my wife and I ever made. She's been involved too.
Yeah.
So the leadership is going to evolve over time.
Right.
And I didn't have to be leading, but if I was going to get seriously involved, I was probably going to end up there. And then 37 years from not going to Wall Street, office was in a used mobile home, literally, in Hayesville, near Hillham.
Wow.
And it took me 17 years to get out of it and scale a business. We were in one location. It was very hard scrabble. Now 3 of my 4 kids run the business that I led, and it's got 90 locations in 40 states and several in Canada.
Wow.
The American dream.
Yes.
And all throughout it, I'll say this was the driver. Never had a mentor other than my family and my community, which is a blessing.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're going to need someone to kind of help you through things.
So good.
You got to take risk. It doesn't come to you. It's going to be a lot of hard work, and you hone those skills. Hardest thing I ever did was running for Senate because I was a state rep man. My wife offered me up for the school board when the call came for her, and I was 50 years old then. That was 2004. Did that for 10 years. The local state rep called me when he wanted to run for Senate, and that's when I got into the political side of life. And again, everything I did as a business owner and what I did even through school helped me do well there.
Yeah.
And, in the Senate, I was talking to you earlier, we were awarded the Freshman Senate Office of the Year of the Congress, the 3 Congresses we were there. That whole Hoosier team went with me there, and they've come back.
Wow.
So it sets the stage up as governor where you are the GOAT, generally not the greatest of all time, because you're on the point of every issue.
Right.
And those are so divided, and you got to plow through with what makes sense, make your case, and a lot of times take a lot of, incoming along the way.
Sure.
All along, though, take a little risk, manage it, deal with whatever you've learned along the way. And I'll cite this big difference between running a business, which is a lot harder than being in the Senate or being a governor.
Yeah.
And that's because in this job, it's applying for it. 2 hard deadlines in May and November, and you're out of business. If you've got thick enough skin and you're willing to go through the long application process,
Sure.
you're the only one. You're the monopoly. And when you love a business where they give you the revenues and they go up 2 to 4% each year. Federal government's gotten way ahead of its skis, deeply in debt, enterprising states that have to live within their means. Whatever we do here, it'll be shared around with the other 49.
It's good.
I think that's how we take the country into a new place.
I love that. I love that. Let's expand a little bit on your leadership now and talking about that. So you said in this position, there's division everywhere. How do the great leaders, and we consider you a great leader, and you're learning on the fly too.
Yeah.
How do the great leaders lead in the midst of division in order to bring more unity to the community?
So you got to have a support cast.
Yeah.
And I've always been lucky in building the business. It was like hiring a really good salesman out of the local gas station.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. You got to have a nose for how do you get others to come along with you. And I did that in taking that team out to DC and coming back.
Yeah.
But if you want to lead, it's not a solo job because if you're doing anything of scale, you've got to then know how to manage and how to get people to come along with you.
I love that.
I've been blessed there, and I had that same tutorial 37 years in the real world.
Yeah.
And doing that as an entrepreneur has made the political side of life fairly easy, especially in applying for the job, because you're constantly selling your business and getting people to come along with it.
Right. That's great. Let's talk about now that you're leading in this position, you've got to not only keep your eye on the future, because you're looking at the future of the state. Where are we trying to take Indiana? But you've also got to lead in the now, because I'm sure there's abundant issues that you're trying to work through that affect the people of Indiana now. Talk about how do you balance that? How do you lead both those ways?
So clearly, if you want to be successful in life, you can't play the short game. You got to play the long game, but you got to get there.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have good principles, good game plans, or you're going to get caught in a bunch of cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
Where then you're taking time to back out and replan. So I'm not doing anything in the short run that doesn't dovetail with the mid and long term. And again, using the metaphor of a business, the more you do that, your balance sheet gets better, the opportunities come your way, and it gets easier. One of the big mistakes you can make is try to please so many in the short run to where it's not sustainable. And that's a tricky navigation in the world of politics.
Sure.
At least in business, if you got a good line of credit or you've got a decent net worth, you can take a few rough turns. So in politics, it's got to blend together in a way, because a lot of these issues, they're not going to be patient to wait for the next term.
I love that.
It's a little trickier there.
Yeah, I love that. Next generation. That's our heart.
Yeah.
That's John Maxwell's heart too, is the next gen. Let's talk about leadership of the next generation.
Yeah.
Your heart for that. Workforce readiness is so big on your heart and what you want to get done in this state. Talk about the next gen and talk a little bit about where leadership needs to go with them and how we need to help them, and maybe how Indiana is rallying around students today.
So any generation that's a new generation is going to probably be mostly interested in their edification, their education, and what do you do with it? We're at the pivot point where the standard pathway has gotten too expensive.
Yeah.
4-year degrees, almost all of us that own businesses, 3 of my 4 kids run the one now, we don't make that requirement.
Yeah.
We take a broader view. However you get your skills, we want you to have a work ethic. Most of what you learn is going to be on the job anyway.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like workforce development.
Yep.
And in our own state here, it used to be 65,000 jobs 10 years ago. Now it's 130,000. Where if you've got the skills to be a mechanic, you're going to probably have the best paycheck in a place like Toyota, other than the top brass running it.
That's right.
That is hard for even establishment education to get their hands around. So what we're doing in Indiana is no different than what I'd be doing in a business. We're orienting your education with parents in the driver's seat, kids as well, with the full gamut of choices. We're not going to say that you've got to get a 4-year degree when half the kids pursuing it don't make it to the finish line.
That's right.
Have lost time and money. And we've got an actual high school diploma now that is going to be career and technical education oriented, so that you're getting to the market what the market needs, so you don't have to move back into the basement if you got the wrong degree or out of state.
Yep.
And we're getting it done, I think, better than any state.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. We're almost done here. So, and this has been great, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I got some rapid fire, quick, fun questions for you.
Which you haven't given to me.
I know. This is, here we go. All right. Governor Mike Braun, when he's not running the state with his team, right? And he's not being the best husband and father in the world that we know you are, we could find you doing what to relax?
You would find me wandering that woodland that I told you about.
Yeah.
That was the first investment I made that had no legal right-of-way to it.
Right.
And I got into forestry and agriculture as sidelined interests once I didn't go to Wall Street and came back home.
Awesome.
So I managed timber ground. It's great therapy for the job of a senator or a governor. And I find more wild mushrooms that are delectables than any governor
You love
or
that.
senator.
Yes.
Hunt and fish a lot.
Yep. You do. You hunt and fish a lot.
Right there. And figuratively speaking, I may have to go 30 minutes onto a different farm. I never travel to fish or hunt. You bring the weather into play. I make sure the weather is perfect and go to a place where you even the odds of
Governor, you like control. I like that about you, sir.
Well,
yeah, why not?
Kind of, yes, why not if it makes sense?
That's right. All right, next question. If you could spend, you got 30 minutes with any leader, dead or alive, ever, who would that be and why?
It would be Thomas Jefferson, because when he was at the cusp of seeing what the rest of our country was about and commissioned the Lewis and Clark expedition. I would have loved to have been on it with a guarantee that I was going to make it back. I think I still would have rolled the dice because, I mean, everything was in front of us.
Sure.
And you look at what happened from there forward.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story. And I like what he was about. He liked small government.
Yeah.
One of his favorite statements, paraphrased, I hope what we've created here, they don't try to use to vote yourself into prosperity. Look how, where he was at.
That's right. That's right.
With a place that's now running $2 trillion deficits.
That's right.
So,
unbelievable.
I think that would have been an interesting time.
That's a great one. All right, last one, real quick. Big Hoosier, right? Talk a little bit about what you did for Coach coming off the national championship. I just think that's wonderful what y'all did in here at the.
So I watched it in high school. I was a split end, played football, basketball, short forward, ran track, hurdles. I was probably best at the hurdles, but love sports.
Yeah.
And where I live in Southern Indiana, you're generally relating to IU, and we got 2 great Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdue has been amazing since I've gotten into this job. I'm equally interested.
Yes.
But here, when it comes to Signetti and how we got a hold of him in the first place, to me was a miracle.
Yeah.
And then for anyone to say, Google, I win, well, and back it up with what he did. I mean, losing 2 games in the first season, that's amazing.
Yep.
And then going undefeated in the second.
Unbelievable.
And we talked about how bad our record was.
I know.
We're still got the second worst record, but that's like a miracle.
Yeah.
And it, to me, I like the underdog. I like people that come from kind of nowhere and build something out of nothing. And he did that.
Well, it's the American dream. That's what you said, Governor.
Dream.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you.